There we are. All right, Herbie, we're live, mate. How you doing?
Great. Yeah. How about you?
I'm good. Good to see you, man. You've been the talk of the town for a little while now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been busy.
How's that all been for you?
I mean, it's been crazy. It's been a lot. It's just been like basically every moment since April 1st doing something, but now finally have the big hire and now can get settled down. And now it's, I mean, I think that's kind of the way college sports are going, where this transfer portal window as well. There's like another intense time for all this recruiting. Um, so it was just a lot of things going on at once, but now we're seeming to be to the end of it.
Mm. Yeah, difficult with all that going on and then Olympic trials looming, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. How have you managed to at least address the athletic side, like with them? I mean, they're in a place where they just want stability and they just want to be able to focus. And so how have you managed that?
Yeah. It's me just really like communicating and showing them a plan. It started with the first couple weeks of like literally printing out like the weekly plan for each um, group, kind of in a generality of it, but just showing them like, oh, there is a big picture to this. And now as it's getting more and more specific, it's just kind of doing that same thing of making sure that they know. Um, I mean, I think just seeing that bigger picture of, okay, like what's happening over the course of the entire week, month, whatever. Um, like practice by practice is really useful. So they do have
Yeah.
an understanding of how the pieces kind of fit together.
Yeah.
And then also just for their trust and understanding of it, like knowing, oh, okay, this person, even though I maybe swam with a different coach a couple months ago, they actually kind of, hopefully they think they know what I'm doing, and they know that there is a plan for them, and we're not just like shooting at the hip.
Yeah. That's a lot. I mean, to have to deal with the fact that first of all Bob's leaving, then all of a sudden now you're going to be elevated into this position. Then all of a sudden it's like, hey, now you got to think about all these groups, and now you got to put together a staff, and now you got to focus on U.S. trials, and I'm sure you got a lot of internationals too. It's like that's a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what last week I was at Canadian trials, and it was like doing all the finalizing this hire stuff just in between sessions in
Yeah,
my little Airbnb in
yeah,
Canada.
yeah. Yeah, well, let's go back to the beginning then, and then we'll go the timeline. Let me just say this first of all. Congrats on Salo, man. Massive hire.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
super
Yeah.
cool. We'll come back to that and we'll chat about it. But just in terms of the timeline, you win the national championship. You're holding up the trophy. You're feeling
Yeah.
$1 million. You're feeling pretty secure in yourself and your team and your position and all that. And then within 48 hours, everything changes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I mean it was, yeah, the Monday after was yeah, just when everything happened. And it was one of those things where I was like telling my wife, like, I don't, doesn't matter what, I'm not going in on Monday. Like, I just need one day to
Yeah.
chill, just
Yeah.
relax. Um, and then get a text at like 8:30, like, hey, can you be here at 9:30? It's like, oh, what
Oh.
is this gonna be? And then it's just the busiest day of my whole life. So that's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. So you got the text and then you come in and then I guess Bob just told you personally?
Yeah. Yeah, he told me yeah, what was going on. I mean, it was probably like a minute long conversation. And then yeah, it was like, okay, this is what he's doing. He's like, he talked with our admin, and he's like, they're gonna come over here and offer you this if you want it.
Oh,
um
okay. That was what I was gonna ask. So it was kind of set up already.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so
wow.
then it was like, okay, they're coming over, and had like an hour to just kind of sit here. And then they came over, we went across the street and talked over everything, and then it happened. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. So did they have a contract for you to sign that day, or did they give you time to go home and talk about it, or what?
Kind of. They had yeah, they had a contract, and they're like, hey, Texas is announcing this at 2. It'll be best for everybody if we announce it at the same time.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, let me let me read this over, and I was like, can I just call my wife really quick? Because I think she'd be pretty mad if I made a decision this big without
Right.
at least telling her.
Yeah.
So yeah, then like went outside, called her, and came back, and that was it.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. And
Yeah.
that's wild. But and then I guess it's a matter of trying to figure out all the moves beyond that. I heard Bob took off straight away, so then that leaves you with what? What's your first movements after that as head coach?
That it was really just trying to first off calm everybody down,
Yeah.
then yeah, get everybody on board with what we've done. I think that's what's so exciting about ASU is that we've done it as this community. It's something that I know. I mean, I'm so proud of to where it's like, okay, this team was cut in 2008, and then it was like just a group of people always trying to make sure we're able to take one more step forward. And we've been doing that for a long time. And now it's something really big. And just trying to get everybody to realize like, okay, this is so much bigger than a couple people, but it's like the community that we have and the way that we go about it. That's really special, and getting everybody to understand that and kind of double down on that has been what's been really powerful to see. And that's where I have so much confidence in everything moving forward with that, because now that we've kind of seen it, now we're kind of doing it in this new light with a new person in charge. Um, it's something that, yeah, I'm really confident that it's like, okay, we can learn from this and make it something that's much longer lasting than just doing something once. I think it's something that we can be one of the teams in the fight every single year.
Yeah. I I knew, I guess, just from talking to people and maybe even just some side conversations with you, I knew that there were a lot of people interested in you as you have success and as you put yourself out there and people start to get to know you better. There was definitely interest in stealing you away from Bob at one point. So the question really is at that point, I'm guessing you're at least starting to think, hey, I'm ready for a bigger position or maybe even a head coaching position. So just in terms of the thought process, you were certainly
Yeah.
putting yourself in that position of thinking about that already, weren't you?
Yeah, I definitely had yeah, had thoughts of that, and in all honesty, kind of expectations of that.
Yeah.
Thought I'd have more time to to prepare.
Yeah.
But yeah, I certainly, I mean, have felt ready for a while to do this, and yeah, that was definitely fortunate that I had at least had like
Mm.
plans to what to do, how to do it, and at least thought through all the other aspects of head coaching that's outside of just what we do on pool deck.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess all right. So now that you've come to terms with it, your family come to terms with it. Were you able to take some form of break at all? Because I know that the season just adds up on you, and then going into like kind of an Olympic year as well, that there's a lot of stress. Had you planned on at least taking a couple of days?
Well, so I planned on so Monday morning on April 1st, I was like, I need this. I'm gonna take my wife, she had already left for work, and I like sent her a couple Airbnbs up in Flagstaff, like
Mm.
cabins, and it was like, look, she was off like Thursday through Monday, and I was like, okay, look, I'm gonna get this. I'm just gonna wait until after this 9:30 meeting. I don't know what it is, but I just need a couple days. Um, so I was like, I don't want to book it if like for some reason I can't go, but like unless something crazy happens, that's going to be a little break, and then I can reset and get ready for through trials. But yeah, that didn't
Yeah.
happen. So there's been
Yeah.
no break.
Yeah, no break. Listen to me. A word of advice. At some point, take a break. I think I went about 10 years at Auburn as the head coach without putting a break in there, like a real good break. And I think the problem with breaks to it at your level now is like you're always going to have the phone with you, so it's not really a
Yeah,
break either. You can never really break away. So like you're up in Canada trying to enjoy this meeting at the same time you're doing hiring. It's just like there's
yeah,
there's no breaks in this. But yeah,
yeah.
you definitely got to figure that out with your family in the future. But so uh, how many Americans do you have preparing for the U.S. trials?
I think we have just about 20.
Oh,
Yeah.
big group.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Did the all the assistants stay on? Once Bob moved on, were all the assistants there to help as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a good amount of help here, which is great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like would have been way crazier if it was if it was literally just me.
Yeah. So then I guess the big thing then is, okay, now you've got to build a staff. How did you determine how you were going to go about that?
I mean, it's one of those things that I think in reality it's an always changing process, because it's people have a bunch of different skills and what they're good at. Um, and then we also have this identity that sometimes is what we've done. And even if we're pretty good at that, we're good at other things. So it's kind of like um, giving our staff the ability to diversify and who they coach, how they coach, and trying to expand that, which I think is really the next step that we can have to where there is some more um, like specific nurturing and development of younger, less experienced staff members about just organizing like a whole season, kind of all of the things that go into it. And that's what is so exciting about having Salo come on board, because it's
Mm,
like I think myself, I have a very unique view of that, because it's all from really just from like literature of where I've learned all of that from. And then Salo has the PhD where he's done that, but also like as much experience as anybody else in the world. So it's a lot where he can help us and help guide our assistant coaches as well to be the best that they can be, and hopefully develop here as coaches and develop quickly and get better and better. And that's like kind of when thinking about the long term of the team, like hoping that I mean every year, every couple years, not that we want staff members to leave, but they get good opportunities somewhere else, and then we can fill that in with someone new and replace, not replace, but as that changes, making sure we're everyone's growing, not just the
yeah.
swimmers, but the entire everybody who's a part of this. So that's really the goal.
Let me ask you
And
something on that. I want to touch on that for a second, because I have a slightly different view on that, and
yeah,
and I want to put it out there for the swimming world to consider. Maybe even for you to think about harder. But for me, and the way that I look at you, you've spent years growing up as a sprinter and learning from that side of the pool, and learning about yourself, and then transitioning into a coach. You've spent a lot of time really diving in. From my perspective, I don't know everything that you've done, but it really looks like you've taken a deep dive into sprinting and really trying to be the best sprint coach you could be and have a deep understanding of it, and you've really elevated yourself amongst the best in the world now. From again, this is my perspective. And so when we talk about development, I think swimming's getting it wrong in the fact that we feel like we have to be good at everything. I made this mistake. When I became the head coach, I felt like, okay, now I've got to be the head coach for everybody, and I've got to be great at everything. And I felt like that was a mistake. And when I look back on my time, I wish I had have spent more time. And I'll tell you why. Because what happened was, I felt like I had a really good understanding of sprint. I felt like I got pulled in a direction that I wasn't super comfortable with, and I started to question myself. I started to question my beliefs and my understanding. And I went into making compromises on doing things the way everybody was doing them. And I made mistakes. And I wish I had have leaned harder into the sprint side, of really taken it another step, and separated myself again with the rest of the world, which I think you've done. So again, when I talk about development, I think you've spent so many years developing as one of the best and elite. What's wrong
yeah.
with that? Why can't we embrace that?
Well, that's what I guess I'm agreeing with that, but I also want to be like a voice for our assistants in terms of doing their thing, but also like being able to help that, because it's like sprinting. The physiology of sprinting isn't that much different
Right.
than distance. It's just like literally the amount of time in which we're sprinting.
Right.
So that understanding can be applied to a lot of things. And I don't want to have this like closed box where it's the sprinters do their thing, the mid D does their thing, the distance does their thing, and have it not be. And it's not that it needs to be we're training together by any means, but like the understanding, like I think the physiological things that I've learned from coaching sprinters can apply to 400 IMers to milers.
Sure.
And rather than thinking that it has to be me doing that to get that, it's like giving my knowledge to the other coach and then having them implement that is really
Right.
what I have to figure out how to do, which again is easier said than done. And then it's doing it in a way to where yeah, I do have time to breathe, because I think a lot of most of my best ideas in training come when there's space in what I do across the day, where it's like I might not be thinking about it and then it just kind of pops into my head. But if it's just go 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 all the time, I know I won't have my creativity will go away, which I'm trying to yeah, make sure that that's staying in the forefront, because that's why I like it. So I don't want to give up the part of it that I do like
Yeah.
for all the stuff that I have to do.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That will
so
be the challenge.
yeah, and that's what again is yeah, actually like great advice, and that's something that is yeah, I have to think about, because that's obviously what I want to do. But then it's also like, okay, now I have Dave Salo coming in, and I know what just really a genius he is at that. And it's like, okay, I want to be able to allow him to give the best version of himself to the kids who maybe I just coached this whole time. Because there's certainly things he can give to them that will make them even better than just myself alone can do. So it's learning how to do that in a way that doesn't remove like the positives that we do have, which like right now, to where it's like this last year I had a pretty big group where it was up to 26 people, I think was the
Mm,
largest it was.
yeah.
um, which can't be that, like one coach to 26 people. It would be great if it could be totally individualized, but just reality, it can't be that much. I mean, I think we were still able to do it very well, but that's when the kind of community and environment comes into it, and it's constructing a way to where you're just putting, okay, the kids who are really good at breakouts, here's the kids who are bad at breakouts, and kind of putting them in a group and making a set where they're kind of learning together and teaching one another. And
Mm,
it's creating an environment more than directly teaching, that I think is
right.
the real important part.
Right. You know, when you're in a position like this, you've just won a national title. You've got the backing of the university. It's almost like the world of coaching opens up to you in regards to who you could bring in as part of your team. I know that Salo was certainly top of the list. Why was that for you in terms of all the people that you could have picked? Why Salo in particular?
Really, the experience is obviously the thing that I need. It's like, okay, I haven't ever done this before. So best thing, I can get somebody who has done this before to help me out. Um, and he's been a very good mentor to me in a lot of ways. And each conversation I had with him would kind of just turn into a conversation where it's like, okay, the first couple of calls when it was like, okay, I want to talk about this position, and then we just kind of get talking and get moving. And it would be like I'd hang up the phone and be like, man, I got like 30 minutes of great advice.
Yeah.
So then it was like, after we'd done that a couple times, like, this is the guy I need. Because stuff I didn't even realize was a thing, an option. He like had already kind of queued me up for it. And like just the way he thinks about training, all of that, I think we fit well together. But yeah, it comes down to the experience, and even talking with him about like how he recruited at USC, and how he kind of guided his assistants to recruit at USC and how that affected the program like long term. He's already viewed it from like, okay, how do these decisions you make affect the team 6 years later? And that's what we obviously have to do if we want this to be something to last. And like, yeah, I mean, I also know I'm pretty young, so I want someone who's been around the block before, and somebody like he was, I mean, literally top top of my list the whole time, because he kind of did it his way, and it's like, okay, he was able to do it his way and get, I think, an NCAA champion in every single race. I don't know that for sure, but also Olympic medalists in, I think, every race. So it's like, okay, that's someone who is, yeah, kind of going to the reverse of what we were just talking about. Like, he had his way of doing it and was able to fit it to specific people. And that's what I think where real success is. Because yeah, we want to be. I mean, that's even for me when I started coaching college. It was like, I'm the 50 guy. I'm going to be super good at coaching the 50s. And my first 2 or 3 years here at ASU, everybody was doing great in the hundreds and 200s.
Mm.
50s were never good. And then it was
Yeah.
like, do I suck at this? And then it kind of realized like, okay, maybe maybe these guys are just better at the 100 and 200s.
Right.
And now I've got some 50 guys who are really good, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there is that little bit of adaptability, and it's looking at the individual in front of you and figuring out how to make them the best possible. And yeah, I want to put all of our coaches in a spot where they can do that with the people who they're going to be best with on the team. And also, like, yeah, like you said, I have to know what role I'm best at and make sure I'm doing that to the fullest ability. And then learning how to delegate some of those other things, which is honestly something I have to get better at, because I that's just not like natural for me to be like, hey, you do this, when it's just
Right.
like tedious work
Yeah.
that nobody wants to do. But now I can do that, and they kind of are supposed to at least say yes. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah. They have to,
how to do that and not being a dick about it.
What about the other pieces of your staff? Where are you with that?
Yeah, we're in a great spot with that right now. I mean, we have all the same staff that was here this last year.
Okay. So you just kept everybody?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Well, that's good. I mean, usually a head coach will come in and has the right to clean out. And, it sounds like you had a good team already. So keep them together.
yeah.
Yeah. How do the other people that you were quote unquote kind of an assistant with, how do they feel about you being elevated? How are you going to handle that dynamic, you think?
I think good. You can never really fully know. You'd have to ask them to be sure. But I mean, I think we have a great relationship with everybody. Like Logan Herka, who's coached our distance swimmers, has been great. Him and I have been super close. Derek Schmidt's been here long. Both of them have been here longer than I have.
Mm,
Both Derek and Logan. Derek and Logan actually were here, I think, the entire time Bob was, if not just a couple weeks, months after.
right.
Um, but yeah,
That's
they
good.
both started as Logan started as the team manager. Derek started as a graduate assistant. So they've
Wow.
been kind of through it from a
That's
lot of
cool.
different roles. So they've
Yeah.
seen a lot of change. Certainly, I think this is the biggest change. Um, and yeah, it's great to have just their perspective on things. And again, I think that's important for the team, to where there already was a lot of unexpected change, and when there's at least consistency in I mean, really most of the people on deck, then that's pretty good for them, because it's like, okay, it really is a minor change when it's just one person.
Right. How did you manage I guess there was three types of people. There were the ones that I'm definitely staying at ASU. I'm definitely going with Bob, or I'm in the middle. How'd you handle the people in the middle?
Yeah, it's trying to, I mean, show them that what this is. It's like this wasn't this wasn't just Bob doing this. This is how we all work together. It's this
Right.
community that we created, um, And luckily there was there really just didn't seem to be that many people in the middle. There was kind of like a very clear clear line in the sand,
Right.
which in some ways is good because it's just like very quickly knew what's going on.
Right.
But it was the same thing. I mean, some of those, like, there was kids who went in the portal, and we were supportive through them the whole time of like, okay, if you're not sure you want to be here, we'll kind of re-recruit you. But gave them the opportunity to go, and like took visits other places. Didn't help us at all because the people, when they took visits, they just went they just went there. So it's like now I kind of see maybe why coaches don't let them do that.
Yeah.
But that's what, again, that's kind of the way college sports is now, with this portal as an option, where it is a very easy thing for them to just immediately go in and see what else is out there. I think certainly starting as a head coach, of like allowing some recognition of like, look, I know this isn't what you signed up for. So rather than yelling at them for not believing in something they didn't even know was coming, was my just thought process through that.
Just remain calm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them make their decisions. Do they still have the rule where, as a first year head coach, you kind of get a clean slate on scholarships? Like you can decide to renew and not renew, things like that. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, they still have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had at least some control of some scholarship stuff then.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole business of swimming behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know, and a lot to learn there as well, eh?
Yeah.
What about your going forward? What's your thoughts on pro swimmers and a pro team? I know Salo's always had a pro team. He's just come from a pro team. So how will you divide that up between you and Salo?
I mean, it's hard to know right now. It's certainly something I'm not against. I think the pros add a whole other level to our training. I think it's obviously got to be the right pros. Somebody like Ryan Held is one of the best additions to our training group that you can have, because it's
Right.
like, um, just doing 25s fast from the blocks. It's like, okay, he's one of the best of all time on that.
Yeah.
So just like put a kid next to him and they're like, I got to get my starts in underwater better. Like, yeah. And that's much more powerful than me saying it, and having their influence and kind of their just seeing how they handle themselves on a daily basis is very, it helps, because
Yeah.
you're really seeing what the best people in the world do. And then if they go and win a world championship medal or an Olympic medal or something like that.
Did you get a phone call? Your sound, hang on a sec. Your sound just went off. I lost your sound. See the beauty of live television right here. And working on a telephone. No, you still can't hear you. I wish I could pause this. I can't pause live. You're just gonna have to deal with me, everybody. How come there's no questions in the where's all the questions? Oh, there it is. Okay, there's a question. Somebody showed up. Thanks, Renz. Yeah, we're gonna get him back. I can see him, I just can't hear him. Herbie, what about if you log out and then log back in? Are they? Can I hear you? No? Man. We're gonna try and log out and log back in. Oh, there we go. We back? Yeah. Good?
Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I can't hear you at all. I don't know.
Now we're struggling, huh? Look at this. You decide to go live, and this is what happens.
Here we go.
We back?
Yeah, we're back. Sorry.
What happened? Did someone call you?
Someone called me and then I hung up and it just went totally dark.
Yeah, that's the problem with being on a phone. I've done some live shows before, and as soon as someone calls you, the whole phone just goes.
Yeah.
No,
but
that's okay. So, all right. Well, all right. Let's go to U.S. trials real quick because I mean we're coming up on it. Just give me some previews of the people in your group right now. How they faring, man? How they looking?
they're good. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like Ryan held was just 48-3 last weekend in our meet here. Johnny was 48-7.
That's such a competitive event at U.S. trials. I mean, they're all competitive, but like that one is like, I mean, there could be 20 guys in the top eight realistically.
Yeah, that's like that one's crazy.
Yeah.
um, yeah, really, those two are going to be really good.
Yeah.
Simone is actually at a altitude camp right now. She'll be back here on Monday. Um, so she's been training really well.
Has
Well,
Simone been was she with you primarily or what was she doing?
she actually went kind of back and forth. She would be kind of more in blocks. So it would be like when she first got here, it was throughout the week. She would do just kind of alternate days with Bob and I.
Right.
Then she went fully with me for a while, then fully with Bob for a while. Then this last year, like through, um, she was fully with me. Then she did an altitude camp at the OTC, then came back and was fully with me for a while. Then has gone back and forth to altitude twice. Um,
She
so
just
she'll
likes
come back.
altitude.
What's that?
She just likes altitude training.
Yeah, she seems to respond really well from it. And she does it in a really good way where she always gets blood work before and after and like make
Oh.
sure there's actually adaptations occurring. Um, so yeah, well, she's been swimming really well. Olivia Smoliga has been swimming well. She's had
Mm.
some unfortunate back injuries that have been on and off. Um, but I mean, when she's on, she's impressive.
Hmm.
Um, and
Is
yeah, so
Reagan Smith training with Bob?
yeah, she is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then Grant House has been swimming well. Also, he was
Yeah.
really good in San Antonio. Um, yeah, he's in another very competitive event. And his IM's been clicking, but that's another one that's tough to make.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, we've got a handful of other guys. Like Patrick Salmon is somebody who, when he's on, he's pretty hard to beat. Um, so we'll see. We'll have like an army of guys in the 50. I think we have like 9 trial qualifiers in
Yes.
in the
Yes.
50.
That's what
So
I'm
that'll
talking about, Herbs. Yes.
yeah.
Question here in the audience. There's some questions coming in, which is
No,
great.
no.
Keep them coming. What's the race you're most excited for at trials?
I mean, I personally as a fan, it's really always the 100 free. I think that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the most fun one, and in the U.S.
Cutthroat.
right now where there's so many, that's definitely one I'm nervous for because we've got some dogs in the race. So it's
Mm.
just getting into that final, and it's going to be kind of a bloodbath the whole time, which is
Yeah.
good because that's um, whoever does best there is the one who's going to be best at the Olympics. Um, that one's pretty fun. Obviously the 50 as well. Both men and women should be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, sprint guy. Those are the those are the
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
I'm certainly most looking forward to.
Exactly. Back to a sailor real quick. I talked to him yesterday. He said he was going to join full time around August, early August. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Just for those people out there wondering, give him some time to get out there. He's going to trials too, so you'll be hanging out together, recruiting, doing all that stuff.
yeah.
What did he say here? What's this one? Excited to see what you can do with Leah. Okay.
Oh, Leo Verschutten. Yeah, that kid's gonna be good. He's from Switzerland. He's a sprinter coming in who's
Yep.
super good underwater. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yep. That's awesome. What they say here? What's Ryan Held's fastest 25-yard?
He's the only person I've ever hand timed under 8 seconds, 7.9 once. Yeah,
7.9.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. He's
Jeez.
crazy fast at 25.
Was that 15 underwater and then 10 swim?
Yeah. He can break out like head on the line. That one I think was 6 strokes. When he's like that tempo's crazy and length is there, it's fast.
Yeah. What's this one here? Salo seems to write some comprehensive sets. How do your coaching styles match up? They're similar in that sense, right?
Yeah, they're actually, I think, very similar in that. That's like some of my. I mean, I honestly, the biggest difference is the way in which we present it. Where he does it on a whiteboard, I type it out beforehand. Um, but I like typing it out because you have the ability to put so much information there. Um, but I think our sets are pretty similar in all honesty, because it's just a
Yeah.
lot of unique movements. Normally going through things a couple rounds through or a couple cycles through, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's pretty similar.
Yeah. I guess this is probably the number one question out there, maybe, between you two. How are you going to split this up?
That's what we've got to figure out. I mean, we've got so many different um, different people, and now we've got like a crazy sprint heavy team, which I'm which I'm excited about. I mean, even in the last bit, we went from the whole time. That actually, I should say, the first 5 years I was here, we had at most one girl under 23 seconds a year. And then this last year, we actually had three or four. But now we've added four transfers. So we'll have like seven or eight. So we actually have like depth on the women's side of sprinting
Mm,
as well. Um,
nice.
and they're all super versatile in terms of what strokes they can do. So I mean, how many races are 200 yards or below? Almost all but three, basically. So if you're doing it kind of from a sprint focused thing, you've got 85% of the races covered. So if we do that, we'll be we'll be just fine. Um, but yeah,
It
it's
seems
it's
like
yeah.
it's going to be the sprint central at ASU. There's going to be,
Oh yeah.
there's going to be 60 people on the team, let's say, and 50 of them are going to swim 200 down. Is that right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's
and I
wicked.
mean, it's yeah, like we have for next year on the men's side, our 12th place 50 freer is 1981. Um,
Wow.
so we've got some depth in that, which is going to be fun because that's where those practices that's what makes it, and that's what made our relay so good last year. It's where it was like, okay, we had 6 7 guys who realistically could be on that 4x100 free, and it's like not knowing who's going to be on it until after prelims, and then still not being not being 100% sure if that's the best um, decision is a good thing, because we've got just that constant competition every single day. I mean, that's what led us to last year. We were actually the first team to ever have 5 guys under 42 seconds in the same season. And then this year, our relay was the first to ever average under 41 seconds. And I mean, we had, if it was an 8x100 free relay, we would have been like, the splits would have been very close on the four after that. So
Right.
I think that's actually necessary to get those relays going. And if the relays are good, the
Oh,
team's
yeah. Yeah. I know you lost a couple of big names, big players, right? But I don't know the ins and outs of your team and the people that maybe even moved on after their fourth or fifth year or whatever. So in terms of just your perspective of the championship team that you won with, how are you feeling about the team for next year? Where is it at?
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, you can't replace a Leon Marchand. It's
No.
like a unicorn.
Right, right. Yeah.
um, but the class that we have coming in is literally the best class we've ever had at ASU, like by far.
And
Um,
they're all solid. They're all sticking to it.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we have 3 kids who have already been 19 in the 50 free out of high school.
Wow.
Kid just went Quinn Sider just went 19.7 43.0 134 at his high school state in California.
Mm.
Brady Johnson is the number one juniors in the 200 back and had the fastest 50 breast split in the country. Also been 43.0 in the 100 free. We've got a couple distance kids who are really good, a couple breaststrokers who are really good. It's like the most complete class we've had. We also had a kid, Michael Hawkwalt, who's already been 200 and 418, I think, 417 in the long course IMs. So it's a solid class. So yeah, we did lose some, and it was one of those things we knew this whole year that it's like, okay, we're gonna lose some. We knew Leon was going pro because it's like you're gonna get like $10 million, man. You gotta do this.
There's no chance that Leon can take the 10 million and still swim for Texas.
Oh no, I don't think so. And he
No.
didn't go in the portal, so it's already he's a Sun Devil through and through. Was cool about him on this spot. Yeah, like I
Okay.
mean, the rules are constantly changing, so I don't know, but I would be, in all honesty, I would expect it more likely for him to swim for ASU, just because he's like so close to the guys on the team.
Okay.
And I don't want to guarantee anything, but I would be shocked if he did that, and like he already did all the stuff to go pro. So
Right. Yeah.
kind of hard
Yeah.
to.
No, I think it's a foregone conclusion. It's just
Yeah.
it's the skeptic in me that's just going to ask that question, you know, but you never know.
Yeah. That's what I feel like I could be totally wrong.
Let me ask you this. I did hear I heard some grumblings from some head coaches today to say they're dealing with this Grant House ruling from the NCAA and budget cuts and things like that. Tell me about this from your perspective.
I mean, I know they're doing some type of settlement that should come out soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it came out like something to say that there's doing a settlement. But what is the Grant House thing for those that don't fully understand? Just briefly, what is it?
it's basically a suit against the NCAA in terms of how student athletes can be paid. So yeah, I've been kind of trying to stay it's so far out of my control that it's like just whatever whatever happens.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Why did he decide to go? I mean, I guess I could ask him, but like, why particularly him did he decide to go forward with this lawsuit? Did he feel like there was something missing?
I think so. I mean, I think it's like it was also, he was, I think, approached to be the name for it. I think there were several student athletes approached to do that, but I guess it was.
Yeah.
I think he thought that and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I mean, very likely the idea that I think a lot of people have that, athletes should be allowed to create revenue in other sources. So having to give that up for a scholarship might be unfair. Again, that's just what I'm thinking is his opinion. Not that that's my opinion or what it actually is, but that would be.
Do you know if it affects head coaches or swimming specific teams in any way negatively?
Oh yeah, I think I think it will. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I mean, basically, it's restructuring the entire way NCAA athletics works, because now they have a payroll of, you're adding 650 people to pay. So you're paying them $10,000. That's a lot of money. So that's really what it is. And I don't know what that's really been the discussion amongst coaches of what that will look like, because it's like.
Right.
There's some negatives to that I think people don't realize. It's like, okay, if you want to be an employee, you can get straight up fired for not performing. And you can't do that right now with scholarships, where if you swim slow, as long as you don't like go to prison, you keep that. So there's going to be some changes there. I think it'll just change totally how that works. And it kind of like, I don't know if it's all bad, because it's like if the athletic department is able to create revenue, well then they're gonna be able to do that, and it could change the way scholarships are given out to where it might not be fair anymore, to where like right now everybody has 9.9 or 14 men and women scholarships. It could be, okay, this school has all the money so they can get all the people, which will, I mean, honestly probably end a lot of smaller schools, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, man, I said I'd keep you 30 minutes and it's been 45 already. So I've gone over and I appreciate your time. Obviously you're so busy and probably got to jump back onto the pool deck here in a minute anyway. So appreciate your time, man. Listen, congrats to you and everything, the success you had last year, but then going into this and keeping it all together and putting the staff together and just keeping it grounded for the athletes, man. That's a lot to say about you. So congrats on all that stuff, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for everyone in the comment section. Look, we'll get Herbie back again. I just don't want to keep all his time. He's a busy man, and good luck at trials in a few weeks. All right, I'll see you out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, man. Later.
All right, see ya.